Start with a real look at some of the very, very real and dire real-life consequences of Americans losing their constitutional right to reproductive health care. It's been just about 3.5 weeks since the conservative majority on the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, and already reports are mounting of how it's putting people's lives at risk. Confusion among doctors over new abortion restrictions is leading to dangerous delays and denials of life-saving care, including for ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages. State abortion bans are also leading some people to make drastic decisions, like a sexual assault survivor in the state of Texas who chose to be sterilized so that if she is ever attacked again, she won't have to carry the rapist's baby. The bans are even threatening the health of people who aren't pregnant and have no plans to become pregnant, like a lupus patient in Virginia who had to stop taking a medication that controls her symptoms solely because the drug can cause miscarriages. Then there's also the story we told you about last week about the 10-year-old girl in Ohio who was raped and then had to travel to the state of Indiana for an abortion. A lawyer for the doctor who provided that abortion has now threatened legal action against the Indiana Attorney General for suggesting, without any evidence at all, that the doctor didn't follow state reporting rules. Well, it turns out we know now that the allegation from the Indiana Attorney General is absolutely false. It's just not true. The Washington Post reports the doctor did, in fact, report the abortion to the relevant state agencies before the legally mandated deadline to do so. But this girl's story, perhaps more than anything else, shows that the reality of banning reproductive health care is far worse than many people could have even imagined. And anti-abortion activists are having trouble answering to that reality, as you can hear here, when Congressman Eric Swalwell brought up the 10-year-old's case to Catherine Glenn Foster, president of the Americans United for Life.
Do you think a 10-year-old should choose to carry a baby?
I believe it would probably impact her life, and so therefore it would fall under any exception and would not be an abortion.
Wait, it would not be an abortion if a 10-year-old with her parents made the decision not to have a baby that was the result of a rape?
If a 10-year-old became pregnant as a result of rape and it was threatening her life, then that's not an abortion. So it would not fall under any abortion restriction in our nation.
Are you feeling confusion? Confusion? Yeah. That made no sense to you. You're not alone, because the reality is that many new state abortion bans have absolutely no exceptions for rape or incest. But her response shows that the anti-abortion activists are having a little bit of trouble responding to what's happening in real life, to real people in their lives, now that Roe v. Wade is gone. And joining us to start off the show, Lindy Lee, co-chair of Justice United. So let's start with the 10-year-old girl in Ohio who was sexually assaulted. Conservatives first tried to deny the story is true. Then they were like, is this girl made up? She doesn't exist. Then they attacked the doctor who performed the abortion, provided the care. Are anti-abortion advocates, in your view, having trouble owning up to the reality that they have unleashed on the country now that Roe is gone?
Absolutely, because his story makes him appear so heinous. You know, we have Jim Jordan coming out and saying it's an absolute lie. He called President Biden a liar for mentioning during the speech. And then Kristi Noem, the governor, said it's just fake news from liberal media. We had the Wall Street Journal calling it a story that is too good to confirm. And I'm just wondering to myself, too good for what? And instead of going after the rapist who raped the 10-year-old twice, instead of going after the doctors who denied her care, or the legislators who authored this very cruel bill, they're going after the doctor, which just blows my mind. And this doctor is actually placed on a list generated by a militant extremist anti-abortion group with ties to Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And her daughter has faced threats in the past. So this is a pattern of hostility and violence, and someone's going to get hurt. People have already gotten hurt.
It's a really important point. We have to always remind folks at home that anti-abortion activists have been violent in the past towards both doctors and patients. There's frequent harassment outside of clinics. As Laura Bassett wrote in Jezebel recently, we knew it would be awful, but we did not know it would all happen so fast. I think there is a lot in the last 3 weeks. it's been a little bit of whiplash. It was like Roe is the law, then it is not. And the repercussions have been far and wide. Do you think, it's one thing to say that potential children who are the victims of rape or incest will be forced to have this by the state to have the child. It's one thing to say that sort of in the abstract. It's a whole different thing when there's a living, breathing 10-year-old in front of you that is pregnant and in need of care. How do you think that is going to play out as Americans truly begin to process the ramifications of this decision?
That's a fantastic question. I just fear the Republicans consider it collateral damage. I mean, with Ohio, it was a 6-week abortion ban, and it denied her an abortion because she was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant. There was no humanity or compassion there. It just blows my mind. And then we have a case out of Texas a few days ago of not a child, but a woman who's on the verge of death. She was unable to get an abortion because there was still a fetal heartbeat. So the doctors were unwilling to do anything and had to wait for the fetal heartbeat to stop, at which point she was on a breathing machine, had already lost multiple liters of blood. So they waited until the last moment because the doctors were afraid of going to jail by saving a woman's life. Doctors and medical providers should never be put in that position. And it's just unconscionable to me. These are not, they claim to be Christians, and Republicans always tout how every life is precious before God, but this just flies in the face of that. And they always say God works in mysterious ways. And I feel like they're using that kind of to justify the inadvertent murder of these women. They could have been saved. They could have been spared so much pain and agony had they received immediate care. And abortions won't stop. It's safe abortions that will stop.
It's really hard to think about the people who pretend to be Christians. As the daughter of 2 pastors, that's the thing that always gets me. I think that a lot of times you should be acting out the things that you say that you believe, and cruelty is not one of the tenets of Christianity. Do you think that the anti-abortion movement, do you think they truly understand the impact of these bans before they were put into place? Or do you think it's that they don't care? I think I'm trying to get to sort of this point where we understand what's next. Are they going to keep going down this path, or are they at all, deterred from implementing even harsher restrictions because of what's happened just in the last month here?
I think, unfortunately, that they are emboldened. And we always have to keep in mind that the idea that life begins at conception is a fairly modern concept. It kind of conjured up during the 1970s by the evangelical right in order to shore up the Republican coalition when they could no longer rely on segregation and animosity toward African Americans to generate voter turnout. So they weaponized abortion. They weaponized a matter that is so dear and intimate to a woman in order to solidify the Republican Party. So for other major faiths like Judaism, they believe that life begins with the first breath. So they are exploiting religion and once beautiful faith in order to accumulate power, which is just mind-boggling to me. And I hope that the millennial generation and Gen Z will see what's really going on, because Christian nationalism is a dire threat. Let's be honest about that. And I feel like the vast majority of the public are not aware, or they're too scared to speak up. But we have to. In order to confront the threat, we have to correctly identify what it is.
Lindy Lee, it's always great to talk to you. I always find our conversations, you're so insightful, and I appreciate you being here today. Please stay safe. Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.